Greetings everyone, my name is Natalie. I am a biology major with a concentration in microbiology, and I'm also hoping to get a minors in forensics. This is my first semester here at Sac State. I'm a transfer student from Folsom Lake College. My hometown is Rescue, California. It's only about an hour or maybe even 45 minutes away from here. East, it's nestled at the base of the foothills. It's right next to Cameron Park and El Dorado Hills and Shingle Springs, if you're more familiar with those towns. It's very small. It just has a post office, a school, that's about it. Oh, a cemetery, although our cemetery is named Jayhawk Cemetery. And in fact, a lot of weather apps call us Jayhawk. I'm not really sure why. I know that we're named Rescue because one of the founders of the town was rescued from poverty by all the gold mines that are in the area. And you can still see a lot of evidence of mining in the area. Trails that they left behind, piles of rocks, exposed quartz, and even some mine shafts. My parents' property actually has a mine shaft, and there's a little hole that we have fenced off so nobody falls in it. As I said, this is my first semester here at Sac State, and it's also the first time I'm moving out. So I moved into the dorms. This is my dorm room. So this past week has been overwhelming in a good sense, because before that I had lived in Rescue my entire life. So very exciting. Hobbies I like to do: I play the piano. I took 13 years of lessons, graduated from the program I was in my senior year of high school. I also draw. My mediums I tend to use are normal, just graphite, pencils. I've been getting into watercoloring more, and colored pencils. I also crochet. My favorite book of all time is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. If you haven't read any classic books, that is a great one to start with. She's so sassy. I also really like Cassandra Clare. In fact, I went to Barnes & Noble on Friday and picked up her latest book. She writes this series called the Shadowhunter series. It's kind of a mix of Harry Potter and supernatural. If you're into that genre, I would suggest checking her out, and I would start with A Clockwork Princess. I've also been getting into audiobooks more, so I have an Audible subscription, and I listen to audiobooks a lot as I'm working, driving, walking around campus. What did I just finish? I think Killer Triggers by Joe Kenda. He's a retired homicide detective. I'm into true crime. As I said, I'm doing a minors in forensics, so I really love true crime. Which I guess leads me on to TV shows. One of my favorite TV shows is Forensic Files. All the episodes are free on YouTube if you want to check them out. I also really like Star Wars Rebels, The Mandalorian, Bad Batch, any of those. I'm a big Star Wars fan. Netflix shows, very excited for the upcoming season of Lucifer. I've also been really into Netflix documentaries. In fact, one that I just finished up was called Diagnosis. It's this New York Times writer who's also a doctor, and she finds people who have these mysterious illnesses that they haven't been able to get a diagnosis for, and she writes about them in the New York Times. Basically, she's crowdsourcing, and so people write back saying what they think that person's diagnosis is. It helps the people on this show find an answer, or at least start looking for an answer where their doctors haven't been able to find anything. So that was really fascinating. When it comes to music, I typically listen to 70s and 80s classical rock. Queen, AC/DC, Elton John, David Bowie. My favorite song is Band on the Run by Paul McCartney and the Wings. And when it comes more to studying, I've been listening to a lot of lo-fi over COVID. Also classical music, my background in piano, I have a soft spot for Beethoven and Bach, and especially Mozart. And I've also been constantly listening to the Loki soundtrack. That's another show I was really into. Just finished that this summer. One expectation I have for this class is that what I learn in this class will apply to my upper division work and future career. For example, we're going to be writing a resume for our future career, so I'm really hopeful that this class will just help me feel a bit more prepared for what comes next. What I already know about scientific analysis, it's kind of a broad question, but I know a lot about, or at least I feel I know a lot about writing scientific papers. Every semester that I took a science class, we had to write a scientific paper. It wasn't us doing our own experiment though. It was us analyzing somebody else's experiment, or it was writing up a lab report in the style of a scientific paper where we didn't design the experiment, but we did go through with it and collected data and got practice that way. I also have a lot of experience working in a lab. For the past 3 years, I was working at FLC's lab as a student help for the biology and chemistry lab technicians. And now I'm continuing to work for a lab. I'm working at the Shannon Science Complex on the 3rd floor in the microbiology media kitchen, which prepares for all of the microbiology classes. So again, getting exposure to what working in a lab is like. I have since learned that I'm definitely a lab rat. Love being in the lab. It's so much fun. I still have a lot to learn when it comes to the process of designing your own experiment, coming up with a problem, designing an experiment of how to test and come to your conclusion, and then writing about it and sharing it. I know a lot about writing and sharing, not necessarily about coming up with it on your own. So that's a little bit about me. I hope to see or hear from you guys, or just see your little black Zoom boxes, which is the more likely outcome. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks for clicking on this video. Stop wiggling. My name is Natalie Wells, and I am testing the audio. Just gonna fuss. That's my favorite. Have a great rest of your week. Have a great rest of your week. I have to pick a different sentence. Elvis, I haven't took the paper